I still remember the way everyone's eyes turned toward me that night, like I was something dirty that had crawled out of the dark. They didn't need to say a word. The shame in their silence was louder than any scream. My own cousin, I whispered to myself. How could she? People think betrayal comes from strangers, but it doesn't. It comes from the ones who know you, who've seen your weakness, your tears, your secrets, and choose to use them against you. In our family, respect was everything. One wrong word, one rumor, could ruin a lifetime of reputation. And Chloe, she knew that better than anyone. She was always the golden girl, the one who made Grandma laugh, who helped in the kitchen just long enough for everyone to notice. Me? I was the quiet one. The one who worked hard and kept her pain private. Until she made sure it wasn't private anymore. It started with whispers, innocent enough to ignore. But soon, those whispers carried my name through every corner of our house, like a poison. And the cruelest part? She did it all smiling. Smiling while I watched my mother's face fall, smiling while I was made to explain myself for something I never did wrong. Sometimes I think back to that night and wonder, did she plan it from the start? Or did she just enjoy watching me burn? Because when the truth finally came out, when I exposed her for who she really was, it wasn't just Chloe who fell. It was the entire illusion of our family's perfect respect. Family dinners at my grandmother's house were always loud, full of laughter, and, if you looked closely, quiet competition. Every Sunday, the entire family gathered around her long oak table, pretending we were one big, happy clan. The aroma of roasted chicken and mashed potatoes filled the air, but beneath it, something sour always lingered, favoritism. Grandma Grace sat at the head of the table, her eyes sharp as ever, her words gentle but deliberate. She had a way of praising Chloe for the smallest things, like how neatly she arranged the napkins or how gracefully she passed the dishes. Chloe always knows how to make things look beautiful, she'd say with a proud smile. And then her gaze would slide to me. Sophia, dear, you've been busy again, haven't you? Always working, never here to help. I'd force a smile, nodding politely. Yes, Grandma. Just a lot on my plate lately. Everyone would laugh softly, as if my efforts outside the family didn't count for much. My mother, Hannah, would try to change the subject, but even she seemed too careful, too aware of her own place in Grandma's pecking order. Chloe and I grew up like sisters. We shared toys, clothes, and dreams once. But somewhere along the way, she learned how to shine in a room by dimming my light. She'd say things with a sweetness that stung. Oh, Aunt Hannah, I wish I could work as hard as Sophia. But I'd miss family time too much. Laughter again. My mother's eyes would flick toward me with quiet apology. My stepmother, Sarah, smirked slightly, always eager to see me falter. She had joined our family after my father remarried, and ever since, she'd treated my existence like a reminder of someone she could never replace. I spent most gatherings helping in the kitchen or cleaning after everyone left. It was easier to stay busy than to feel invisible. One evening, I overheard Chloe talking with Grandma in the living room. Her tone was soft, almost whispery. I just worry about Sophia, Grandma. She keeps so many things to herself. You never know what people are hiding. My chest tightened. I wanted to walk in and defend myself, but I froze. Grandma sighed heavily. That girl has always been too secretive. It's not good for our family's image. Their voices faded as I backed away, my stomach twisting. That was the first moment I realized Chloe wasn't just playing innocent. She was laying the foundation of something much bigger. The next weekend, we had a reunion at Uncle John's house. All the cousins were there, including Emily, sweet and naive, who adored Chloe. Everyone laughed as Chloe told funny stories from her new job, adding dramatic flair to every detail. Then she turned to me, her eyes glinting. Remember that time, Sophia, when you, well, never mind. She chuckled, waving it off. The family leaned forward, curious. What was it? Grandma asked. Oh, it's nothing, Chloe said, smiling innocently. Just something personal. I don't want to embarrass her. My heart skipped a beat. Her words hung in the air, feeding curiosity like dry wood catching fire. That night, as I drove home, the silence in my car felt heavy. I could still hear her laughter, sweet and poisonous. I wanted to believe it was harmless. Just teasing. Just family. But something in my gut told me this was only the beginning. It started small, just enough to sting, but not enough for anyone else to notice. A comment here, a snicker there. At first, I told myself I was imagining it. But soon, the shift became impossible to ignore. At the next family dinner, Chloe had everyone's attention, as always. She wore her charm like armor, her laughter ringing through the house. Grandma Grace hung on every word, her eyes glowing with pride. "You're such a blessing to this family, Chloe," she said. "Always so thoughtful, so dependable." I was standing right beside them, setting down a tray of glasses. Grandma didn't even look my way. I smiled anyway. "Can I get anyone some water?" Chloe tilted her head and grinned. "Sophia, you're always so helpful." The way she said it, it didn't sound like a compliment. It sounded like a reminder of my place. Over the following weeks, the gossip began to spread like wildfire. Apparently, I'd been careless with money, disrespectful to elders, and ungrateful toward the family's generosity. Lies, every one of them. And they all came from one source, Chloe. One night, my mother sat me down, her voice trembling. "Sophia, honey, did you really tell Chloe that you don't trust this family with the inheritance matter?" My stomach dropped. "What? I never said that." She sighed, pressing her hand to her forehead. "Chloe told me you did. She said you didn't think your father would be fair." I couldn't believe it. "Mom, she's twisting everything I said. I only mentioned that I wanted things to be transparent when the time comes." But the damage was done. In a family like ours, reputation spread faster than truth. At Uncle John's birthday party, I could feel the distance. Conversations quieted when I walked in. Aunts exchanged looks. My brother, David, avoided eye contact altogether. Then Chloe made her move. She stood up to give a toast. Sweet, sentimental, calculated. "Family means everything to me," she began, her voice soft, eyes shimmering. "Even when people misunderstand your intentions, you forgive them, because love is what binds us." Everyone clapped. Everyone except me. When she sat down beside me, she leaned in and whispered, "You should be careful what you say next time. People are listening." Her perfume was sweet and suffocating. I clenched my jaw, forcing a calm smile. "And maybe you should be careful what you twist." She chuckled. "Twist? Oh, Sophia, you make it sound so dramatic." Days later, I learned that Chloe had gone further, telling Grandma that I planned to contest the family property, that I was jealous of her, that I wanted to destroy the family's peace. Grandma confronted me in front of everyone. "I won't allow greed to divide this family, Sophia. If you have issues, say them openly." I stood frozen, humiliated. Everyone's eyes were on me, my father's stern, my mother's tearful, my stepmother's satisfied. Chloe stood quietly in the corner, pretending to be hurt. "Grandma," I said, my voice breaking, "I never said those things." She waved her hand. "Enough. This isn't the time for excuses." That moment burned into me like fire. I left the room, tears blurring my vision, but not before I caught Chloe's smile, a small, triumphant curl of her lips. That night, alone in my room, I looked at old photos of us, two little girls laughing in the backyard, our faces smeared with ice cream. I could still hear her laughter, still remember the warmth of the bond we once had. "How did we get here, Chloe?" I whispered to the empty room. But as I stared at her smiling face in the photo, a chilling thought crossed my mind. Maybe she'd always been this way. Maybe I'd just never wanted to see it. After that morning, something in me broke. Quietly, almost invisibly, but it was enough. I began noticing things I used to ignore. The glances, the whispers, the way conversations ended the moment I entered a room. Family gatherings became unbearable. At my aunt's anniversary dinner, I stood near the doorway, pretending to check my phone while laughter erupted around the table. I could hear my name in half-whispered conversations. Chloe was in the center again, glowing under the chandelier light like she owned the room. She'd made herself indispensable, helping Grandma to her chair, pouring wine for the uncles, offering compliments with her sugary tone. Every move, perfectly rehearsed. At one point, she turned to me and said loudly, "Sophia, you've been so quiet tonight. Still mad about what happened last week?" Everyone looked up. My throat tightened. "I'm not mad," I said softly. She smirked. "Oh, good. I just didn't want another misunderstanding." The table went quiet for a second before someone changed the topic. I could feel my face burning. I wanted to scream, to tell everyone what she'd done. But I didn't. Not yet. A few days later, Grandma hosted her yearly garden party, her favorite event. Everyone dressed up, smiling for photos as if we were the picture of unity. But I noticed how she handed Chloe a small velvet box, a gold bracelet that had belonged to our great-grandmother. "This should stay with someone who truly honors family," Grandma said. Chloe looked at me, her lips curving slightly. "Thank you, Grandma. I'll cherish it forever." My chest felt hollow. That bracelet was supposed to be mine. My mother had told me since I was a child. But Chloe had managed to steal not just the object, but the meaning behind it. After the guests left, I overheard my father speaking to my stepmother in the kitchen. "She's becoming a problem," he said quietly. Sarah's voice was cold. "Then maybe she should stop playing the victim." The words hit me like a slap. I stepped back, pressing my hand to my mouth to keep from crying out. That night, I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at my reflection. My eyes looked tired, darker. There was anger there now, a kind I hadn't seen before. I started noticing how Chloe was planting more seeds. She'd whisper to Emily, the younger cousin, pretending to warn her about me. "Just be careful what you tell Sophia," she'd say softly, glancing around. "She has a temper. I just don't want you to get caught in anything." By the next gathering, Emily wouldn't even meet my eyes. Every time I tried to defend myself, it only made things worse. My mother would sigh and say, "Just let it go, Sophia. Don't give them more reason to talk." But the silence was killing me. It felt like drowning, slow, quiet, unseen. Then came the breaking point. It was David's engagement dinner. The whole family was there, along with his fiancée's relatives. Everything seemed perfect until Chloe stood up to make a speech. She smiled sweetly, holding her glass. "I just want to say how proud I am of David. He's always been the responsible one. Unlike some people who keep secrets even from family." The laughter was polite but uncomfortable. My heart pounded in my chest. "What are you talking about?" I asked. She tilted her head. "Oh, I just mean honesty is so important in a family, don't you think, Sophia?" Something inside me snapped. "If you have something to say, Chloe, then say it." Her smile widened. "Maybe another time. I wouldn't want to embarrass you." The room went silent. All eyes turned toward me, some pitying, some curious. I could feel the heat rising in my face, the humiliation burning deeper than ever before. I left without saying goodbye. Driving home, I could barely see through my tears. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tight they ached. I wasn't just hurt anymore, I was furious. It happened on a rainy Sunday, the kind of day that should have brought warmth and tea and quiet laughter. Instead, it became the day everything inside me shattered. Grandma had called for a family meeting. Those words alone carried weight in our house. Whenever she used them, it meant something serious. I arrived early, clutching the hope that maybe, finally, the truth would surface. But the moment I walked in, I felt it, the chill, the silence that follows judgment. Everyone was there, my parents, my stepmother, Uncle John, Chloe, and a few others from the extended family. Chloe sat beside Grandma, her hand resting gently on her arm, like a loyal companion. She didn't look at me, not directly. She didn't have to. Grandma cleared her throat. "We need to talk about the inheritance," she began. "I've made a decision." My pulse quickened. We'd had this conversation before, about fairness, about respect. My father always promised things would be divided equally. But this time, the air felt heavy. Different. "I've decided," Grandma continued, "that the family house and assets will go to Chloe. She's proven herself to be responsible, caring, and most importantly, trustworthy." The word stabbed through me. Trustworthy. I looked at her, disbelief flooding my voice. "What?" "Grandma, what are you talking about?" Her gaze turned stern. "I can't leave the family's legacy in hands that question loyalty. Chloe has shown she values family above all. Sophia, you've distanced yourself. You've made choices that raised concerns." I felt the room spin. Concerns? What concerns? That's when Chloe finally spoke, her tone soft, innocent. "Please, Grandma, don't make this about me. I didn't mean to say anything." Grandma pressed. "Say it, child." Chloe sighed, her eyes glistening as if holding back tears. Sophia told me once that she doesn't trust this family with money, that she'd rather give her share away than be part of this kind of hypocrisy. I thought she was joking, but maybe she meant it. The room fell silent. I stood up, trembling. That's a lie. I never said that. Uncle John frowned. Sophia, enough. You've been acting strange for months. Maybe you need to calm down. Calm down. My voice cracked. You've all believed her lies without even asking me. No one answered. Not even my mother. That silence hurt more than any insult. I felt exposed, stripped of every ounce of dignity I'd fought to keep. My grandmother turned away, signaling the conversation was over. It's decided, she said flatly. Chloe reached out to comfort me, her voice dripping with false pity. I never wanted this, Sophia. I just wish we could go back to how things were. I pulled away from her touch. You can keep the house, I whispered, my voice trembling with rage. But one day, you'll lose something much greater. I left the room without looking back. Outside, the rain poured harder, soaking my clothes, washing away the tears I didn't want anyone to see. I sat in my car for nearly an hour, unable to drive, staring at the old house through the windshield. That house had been my childhood. Every memory, every heartbeat of my family lived there. And now it was hers. The following weeks were worse. Calls went unanswered. My mother avoided me. Even my brother stopped visiting. The family group chat, the same one that used to buzz with birthday messages and dinner plans, fell silent whenever I spoke. It was as if I'd been erased. I tried to hold it together, to believe that time would fix things. But one evening, as I scrolled through social media, I saw Chloe's post, a photo of her standing in front of Grandma's house, smiling, captioned, "Some legacies are earned, not given." That was it. The final blow. My hands shook with anger. I clicked on her profile and stared at the picture until the edges blurred. Everything I'd lost, respect, trust, belonging, was right there in that smug smile. For days, I didn't sleep. I replayed every conversation, every moment I'd chosen silence over confrontation. I had protected her once because I believed family meant forgiveness. Now, forgiveness felt like weakness. I began to see things differently. Every humiliation, every lie, it all pointed to one truth. Chloe's mask had to come off. Not out of spite, but out of justice. So, I started digging. Quietly. Patiently. I remembered things she'd said, contradictions in her stories, people she'd wronged outside the family. I made notes, saved screenshots, gathered proof. My anger wasn't loud anymore, it was cold, sharp, focused. One night, I stood by my window, watching the lights flicker across the street where our family once gathered for celebrations. I whispered to myself, she took everything from me. My place. My name. My peace. Then, after a long silence, I added, but she doesn't know what I know. That was the moment something inside me shifted, from pain to purpose. I wiped my tears, straightened my back, and took a deep breath. I may have lost their love, I murmured, but I won't lose my truth. That night, beneath the weight of betrayal, I made a silent vow. If Chloe built her power on lies, I would make sure the truth was what destroyed her. When the first burst of grief faded, something colder took its place: clarity. Grief is messy, clarity is precise. I stopped waiting for apologies that would never come and began making a list of what Chloe had taken: my home, my reputation, the gentle faith my grandmother once had in me. I also listed what she had given away: tiny lies, half-truths, the threads that held her boastful story together. Those threads were all I needed. I told myself revenge didn't have to be loud. It only had to be true, surgical. I started small and careful. I read back old messages, dug through photos, and saved every offhand comment Chloe had made in public and private. I had to build a case that wasn't only about my hurt, but about the pattern. One cruel whisper becomes suspicion, a pattern becomes proof. I found allies where I thought none remained. Emily, the naive cousin, had started to doubt Chloe after a slip-up about a job she never had. One afternoon, in the corner of a cafe, Emily gave me something I hadn't expected: a voice. I overheard her telling someone she faked that reference, Emily whispered, eyes wide. I didn't think it mattered, until now. Her words were small, but they opened a door. I hired a private investigator, something I'd sworn I'd never do because it felt like admitting war. But war had already been declared on me. The investigator dug into Chloe's past. Inconsistencies in her resume, stories she'd told in different versions, favors she'd promised and never delivered. It wasn't just petty lies. There were people who had been hurt, who'd been used to build Chloe's image. I recorded their statements, with permission, and I stored them like ammunition. "Are you sure you want to do this?" my mother asked, voice ragged the night I showed her the files. For a moment I saw the woman she used to be, protective, fierce. She surprised me by saying, "If you're going to fight, do it clean." Her blessing was quieter than I imagined, but it steadied me. My plan had 3 parts. First, expose the inconsistencies, slowly, publicly, in a way the family could not dismiss as spite. Second, reclaim my narrative by sharing the things Chloe had twisted, but with evidence, names, dates, nothing that could be called rumor. Third, make sure the truth landed where it hurt most, the people who had voted with their silence. I practiced my voice. I rehearsed what I would say at the right moment, facts first, emotion later. I would not beg. I would not plead. I would present. I would force them to choose between the glow of Chloe's smile and the weight of truth. The risk was huge. If I was wrong about even one detail, I'd be ruined completely. If my timing was off, Chloe would spin the story again and bury me deeper. There were nights I woke shaking, imagining the family turning on me for dragging their dirty laundry into the open. But each morning the doubt was smaller, replaced by the cold logic of the plan. I planted seeds, an anonymous tip to a family friend who'd always respected facts, a quietly placed email to a distant cousin with copies of Chloe's conflicting messages, a printed timeline slipped under my grandmother's study door. Each move felt dangerous, like threading a needle over a canyon. I watched reactions, gauging suspicion, measuring who would defend Chloe no matter what and who might finally listen. I also prepared for backlash. I redrew my lifelines, where I could stay if they turned completely away, which friends I could trust for shelter, which legal steps I might need. Revenge without a safety net is cowardice. I wanted this to be clean, devastating, yes, but surgical. Every night I told myself the same thing. I'm not doing this to humiliate for sport. I'm doing it to reclaim my dignity, to stop a pattern that could ruin more than just me. This was not petty, it was preservation. The last piece of the plan sat in my pocket like a loaded key. A record, Chloe's own words caught when she thought no one was listening, an admission about how easy it was to manage stories and bend people. I had it because someone trusted me, because I'd earned that trust by being honest when others weren't. Standing in my kitchen, the evidence spread on the table like a map, I felt the old fear circling. But it was smaller now. Determination had replaced trembling. I picked up my phone, thumb hovering over the message that would call the family to the one place where they all still listened, Grandma's house. My hand tightened. Would I press send? The room held its breath with me. The night of the confrontation felt almost cinematic, too quiet, too deliberate. Grandma Grace's house glowed under soft golden lights. The family was gathered once again, just as they had been on that fateful day when she disinherited me. But this time, the air was heavier, thicker with tension and unspoken fear. I arrived late on purpose. I wanted every head to turn when I walked in. And they did. Conversations died, forks paused mid-A. Chloe sat near Grandma, the perfect image of innocence, her hair pinned neatly, her smile sweet but tight. "Ah, Sophia," Grandma said, her voice cautious. "You decided to come." "I wouldn't miss it," I said calmly, taking my seat. "After all, tonight's about family, isn't it?" A faint ripple of discomfort passed through the room. Uncle John cleared his throat. "Let's eat before this turns into another." "It already has," I interrupted. "Because tonight, I'm not here to eat. I'm here to speak." Chloe gave a soft laugh. "Oh, come on, Sophia. Can we not do this? Grandma's tired." I looked directly at her. "You should be, too. Keeping up lies that long must be exhausting." Her smile froze. The room went still. I took a deep breath and set my phone on the table, screen facing up. "You said I was untrustworthy, that I spoke against this family. You made sure everyone believed I was greedy and disloyal." My voice was steady now, no shaking, no tears. "But the truth has a funny way of coming back." I pressed play. Her voice filled the room, recorded from a conversation she thought was private. "It's not about the money," Chloe's voice said, smooth and confident. "It's about control. As long as Grandma trusts me, I can decide who belongs and who doesn't. Sophia's too emotional to handle family matters. I'm just helping everyone see it. Gasps broke around the table. Grandma's hand trembled slightly as she gripped her cane. Where did you get that? Chloe stammered, color draining from her face. From someone who finally saw through you, I replied. You wanted power, Chloe. You got it. But you forgot, power without truth always collapses. My stepmother shifted uncomfortably. Maybe this is out of context. There's more, I said, scrolling. Like the fake job letter you used to impress Grandma. I slid a folder across the table. Verified by the company itself. You never worked there. Chloe shook her head violently. This is ridiculous. Grandma opened the folder, her lips tightening as she scanned the paper. You lied to me, she whispered. Chloe's mask began to crack. I did it for you. For the family. Sophia was always. Stop. My voice was sharp, cutting through her excuses. You did it for yourself. You used my pain to build your pedestal. Tears welled in Chloe's eyes, but I didn't soften. You took my name, my respect, and turned them into weapons, I continued. But here's the thing about truth, it doesn't go away just because you bury it. Silence stretched across the table, broken only by the slow tick of the grandfather clock. Grandma finally spoke, her voice low and trembling. Chloe, is it true? Chloe's lips parted, but no words came. She looked at me, pleading, desperate, but I had no sympathy left to give. Yes, Grandma whispered. I see it now. She turned to me, eyes wet with shame. Sophia, I misjudged you. I let lies guide my hand. I was blind. For a moment, I wanted to cry, to forgive. But then I remembered every moment of humiliation, every night I spent questioning my worth. I simply nodded. I'm not asking for anything back. I just wanted you to know the truth before it's too late. I stood up to leave, but Grandma's voice stopped me. Wait. She looked at Chloe, her once beloved golden girl, with a mix of fury and heartbreak. You brought shame to this family. I will fix what I can, but some things cannot be undone. Chloe's tears finally broke free. Grandma, please. You can't believe. But Grandma slammed her cane against the floor. Enough. The echo filled the room. No one dared speak. The only sound was Chloe's soft sobbing as the walls of her deceit came crashing down. I walked out of the room quietly, the weight of years lifting from my chest. Outside, the air was cold but clear. I could finally breathe again. Behind me, voices rose, arguing, panicked, but I didn't look back. I didn't need to. Justice didn't need my applause. For the first time in years, I wasn't the one being watched, I was the one they would never forget. The house was quieter than I'd ever heard it. The echoes of last night's confrontation still hung in the air, like the final notes of a song that had finally ended after years of tension. I didn't go back inside. I didn't need to. The truth had already done what I could never have done with anger, it had stripped away the illusions. A few days later, my mother called. Her voice was heavy, humbled. Grandma hasn't stopped talking about you, she said softly. She wants to see you. When I arrived, Grandma was sitting by the window, her cane resting beside her chair. She looked smaller, older, but her eyes, those sharp eyes that once cut through me, were soft now. I was wrong, she whispered before I could even sit. I let lies blind me. I wanted peace so badly that I sided with what looked easy, not what was right. I swallowed hard. We all believed what we needed to believe, Grandma. She shook her head. No. You believed in family. I believed in appearances. For a moment, the silence between us was heavy but not cruel. She reached out, her hand trembling slightly. You have your mother's strength, Sophia. Don't ever let anyone make you doubt that again. I took her hand, not because I needed forgiveness, but because she needed it. And maybe, deep down, I did too. When I left her house, Chloe's car wasn't in the driveway. She had moved out a week after the confrontation. Some said she was embarrassed. Others said she was trying to start over somewhere new. I didn't ask. Her absence was her own punishment. Silence is often harsher than anger. The rest of the family slowly began reaching out. Messages of apology, cautious invitations to dinners, tentative smiles that said we were wrong. I accepted their words, but I never went back to being who I was before. That version of me, the one who stayed silent to keep peace, was gone. One evening, I visited the family house for the last time. It still smelled like old wood and jasmine, but it no longer felt like home. I stood in the hallway where so many whispers had once lived, and I let the memories wash over me, not with bitterness, but with understanding. When David found me there, he hesitated at the door. "I didn't defend you," he said quietly. "I should have." I smiled faintly. We all choose silence for different reasons, but silence has its cost. He nodded, eyes lowered. "You got your justice." "Justice," I repeated softly. "No, just truth. Justice is what you do with it afterward." Outside, the sky was streaked with pink and gold, the kind of light that makes endings look almost beautiful. I closed the door gently behind me, not as someone leaving, but as someone finally free. In the months that followed, life became simpler, peaceful. People whispered less, or maybe I just stopped listening. I found joy in small things again. Coffee in the morning, rain tapping on my window, laughter that didn't come at anyone's expense. Sometimes, I'd see Chloe's name mentioned in passing, a new city, a new job, but I never reached out. Some truths don't need to be revisited. They just need to be remembered. And when people ask me now how I managed to move past it all, I tell them this. Respect isn't given by blood, it's earned by truth. And sometimes, you have to lose a family to find your dignity. Because in the end, revenge wasn't about watching her fall. It was about standing tall again, even after everyone tried to make me kneel. I didn't need their approval anymore. I had something stronger, peace built on honesty, not illusion.